What's up, Knife Tube? Today we're going to talk about two real American classics. And even though they're the same knife, something that differentiates them significantly. And that would be the Case Sodbuster. This goes for the junior as well as the senior. Doesn't matter on that end. But where they really are different, and the reason I'm making this video, carbon steel, chrome vanadium steel. And I really wish that Case would go back to using their chrome vanadium instead of their, carbon, whatever carbon they're using. I'm assuming it's 1084 or 1095. Not sure, one of the two probably, but they really need to go back to the CV steel. It is significantly better across the board, and where there's two things that make me really enjoy the CV more, and that is how it patinas. You get those blues and purples in the oil slick tight patina with the chrome vanadium, and you don't get that nearly as much with the 1084 or whatever they're using. And it looks really nice, and I don't know, the CV patina is nicer, and that's aesthetics, of course, but where the real significance lies is in the CV significantly outperforms that 1084 or 1095, whatever it is. It outperforms it by quite a bit, actually, in edge retention. And where it really shows its colors is the chrome vanadium just maintains its bite so much better than the carbon they're using. The carbon, it gets slick fairly quickly, and it just don't hold on to that bite, is where the chrome vanadium does. And the chrome vanadium also sharpens nicer. As far as like all out edge retention, there's probably not that big of a difference, and definitely I wouldn't say it would be significant enough that you would actually notice it in day-to-day use, where you're cutting many different items. Sorry about that. Had to do a little cut because phone call. Anyhow, the CV steel sharpens nicer. It maintains its edge a little bit better. These little gnats are driving me crazy. And it just holds on to the aggression for quite a bit longer than the carbon steel does, and that's where you'll actually notice it. You may not notice it so much in outright edge retention, because the CV will definitely, if you're doing a cut test, the CV will definitely outcut the carbon steel, no doubt about it. Probably 10, 15, maybe even 20%. But that's not, I'd say yeah, it's probably like 10 to 15%. That's not really enough to notice in your day-to-day use if you're cutting different items. If it was a cardboard cut test, yeah, you would see a difference. Past that, in use, you're not really going to. Now, where you will see the difference is in how, when the carbon steel has already gotten quite slick and doesn't have no more bite, this chrome vanadium still got plenty. It's still got lots of bite, and it just cuts nicer because of that. And it just makes for a nicer cutting knife, because it holds on to that bite. It really, so it performs better. I don't know about you, but I don't like knives that get slick, and I don't want, when I'm cutting something, I don't want it to slip and cut. I want it to bite and cut. And that's where chrome vanadium really shows its stuff, as in it just holds on to that bite really, really good for a simple carbon type steel. So it really makes a difference in that aspect, and that's where I think it's a far superior steel. You know, you can take this stuff up to about, personally I wouldn't take it beyond 600 grit. You know, you could take it up to 1,000 if you want more, you know, a little more keenness, but I think it's perfect at around 400 to 600. That's where it's a steel that maintains its bite quite well, and having that aggression from the stone just allows the steel to do a better job at holding on to that aggression. Now, where some people may like the CV steel better, I mean the carbon steel better, they're both carbon steels. When I'm saying carbon steel, I'm talking specifically about this, you know, what they're calling CS or 1080, you know, whatever it is, 1084, 1095, whatever. If their carbon steel does drop back a little better, it'll come back from a point of more wear than the CV steel will. Like, you can bring this stuff back on a diamond strop if you've got like a progression of, like, say 9, 6, 3. You can bring this stuff back from quite dull and right back to hair popping sharp. And now the chrome vanadium will as well, but not as well. However, you know, as you strop this back, it's just going to get slicker and slicker, and you're going to reach a point to where it's very sharp, but like it'll cut paper great, and it'll even whittle hair, but it won't have any bite. The chrome vanadium, while it may not come back as keen, it also will come back quite a few times without getting slick. And I just think it makes for a better steel that performs better for most people. Now, if all you're going to be doing is sitting there slicing paper, yeah, it don't really matter. But if you're actually using the knives and you know you're cutting things, you're out working on your farm or your homestead or whatever, and you know that aggression is what really does the cutting, and it's what makes a knife cut nice. I don't want no slick edge. That's where the chrome vanadium shines. And again, it definitely does have better edge retention. It's just not enough so that you're going to notice it, and I don't think you will anyways. Most people won't. You're not going to notice that 10 to 15% better edge retention in use. Yeah, I don't, you know, I can't tell. Now, where I can tell is, and I'm talking about where and doling it until it won't cleanly slice paper. Yet that knife is still not truly dull at that point, and at that point is when the bite really makes a difference. So, you know, when you're getting to where it won't slice paper cleanly anymore, and the carbon steel, the chrome vanadium will do, you know, would be at this basically the same point. It's not where it's going to clean slice paper, but that aggression and bite that's still in the chrome vanadium is going to still continue to dig in and shred whatever you're cutting much better than the carbon steel that's starting to dull and starting to get kind of slick. Yeah, now if you're somebody that's just going to be cutting paper, cutting open some Amazon packages, etc., it doesn't really matter. But if you're actually, you know, using it as a work knife, and you're cutting tough stuff, you're cutting, you know, thick plastic banding or you know, heavy twine, burlap, stuff like that. That bite is what really does the cutting, and that's where you will notice a big difference between these steels. And like I said, the carbon steel, it sharpens okay. Not bad, not great, but it's decent. The CV sharpens really nicely, actually. Yeah, it just sharpens really nicely, and it comes up with a really nice burr that you can just raise a very light full length burr that's easily distinguishable. Flip it, and it deburrs nicely. It's just an all around, in my opinion, it's an all around better sharpening steel than their carbon steel is. I really wish Case would go back to making all their non-stainless stuff in the chrome vanadium. I really wish they would, especially on like the Sodbuster Juniors with the different exclusives and stuff, jig bone. Man, I would flip for a chrome vanadium peach seed jig bone or amber jig bone Sodbuster Junior in chrome vanadium. I would flip for one of those. But you can get them in carbon, not CV. And sadly, I don't think they're going to be going back to the CV anytime soon, if ever. And that really is a shame, because it is a better performing steel. It's a better product to the consumer. I would say, yeah, most people are gonna, if they're actually knife users, if they're using their knives, most people are gonna absolutely notice a difference between the CV and the CS. That how much longer the chrome vanadium holds its bite, it's not a little bit. It's significant, and it's easily noticeable. Like, you would have to just be completely clueless to the edge. You would have to be clueless to how a knife cuts to not notice it. I would say that the CV will maintain bite for twice as much cutting as maybe not twice as much, but not far off of that. Say 75% as much cutting or more cutting, you'll maintain bite here than you will with the carbon. And it I don't know about you, but I don't like a knife to slip and cut. I like a knife to bite and cut. So if you look around, pick up some, and I'm going to tell you something. If you do want to pick you up be it a Sodbuster Junior or one of the large ones, all the listings will, or most of them, they're not updated. They'll still say they're CV, and they're not. You'll get a carbon steel knife, and it'll say it's the listing will say it's chrome vanadium, and you're going to get a current production carbon. So if you want CV, make sure you ask the seller, is this for sure chrome vanadium? I'm not buying a current production carbon steel model, right? Make sure you ask that, or you're going to get one of these. Because anything made since, I believe, about 2022 is going to be carbon steel. And prior to that, that's when you'll get the CV. So check them out. If you don't own a Sodbuster, you have to get one. You really do. Get you a Sodbuster Junior, a chrome vanadium Sodbuster Junior, and you will freaking love it. And if you like bigger knives, get you this big bad boy. It really is the quintessential old school work knife. All right, guys.